Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a special guest, which we did originally have him on digitally through, Zoom and everything, but now we are officially in person, and yeah, I'm really excited for that. This is Joe Heschmeyer. If you guys aren't familiar, he's Shameless Popery on YouTube, and you work with Catholic Answers.
I do.
So I'm very excited to have you on.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Yeah, well, the topics that I had planned for us today, we were like, we need to do both of them. Because
Yes.
I was like, I think that these would be perfect for my audience and right up your alley. And so I would love to start with the first topic, and that is how certain people, men and women, can do this, of course, but I see it more in the man sphere, if you will. I don't know how to explain it, but like theology isn't just a hobby for them. It becomes their entire personality. Apologetics, philosophy, that's all they ever want to talk about, and that makes up their entire personality. And I would just like to know what you have to what you say about that.
Yeah. So with apologetics in particular, but theology more broadly, these are ways in which we try to come to know the truth and ways we find out things about God. And the danger is you can replace knowing about God with knowing God. And those are not the same thing. Like if you met a person who, let's say you're a big sports fan or a movie fan or something, and like all about their bio, their stats, everything they've ever done. You don't know them. You just know a lot about them. And if you met them, and rather than like listening to them and talking to them, you just like recited facts you happen to know about all of their career, that would risk even impeding getting to actually know them. Like those things are part of who they are in a certain way. And so if you had no interest in that, that would also be a problem. Like if somebody was, married to a movie star and was just like, I couldn't name one thing that they're in. Yeah. That would be alarming. You'd think, well, that seems kind of strange. Or if you're married to anybody, you couldn't name what their hobbies are, their passions, or any, where they were born, how many siblings they have. Those would be like huge red flags. Like, well, how much do you care about this person that you claim to love? But knowing all of the factoids isn't the same as knowing the person. And so the first thing I'd say is like one of the first dangers is that you can let this become a substitute for an authentic relationship with God. Like theology is incredibly important, and apologetics has a really important place as well, but not to the exclusion of the encounter with God. And the other thing, as I think you're kind of alluding to, is in our interpersonal relationships, we can take everything and turn it into like, oh, this would help this argument. This would be amazing in this context. And so I think you see this in two places. Number one is in prayer. Like you're supposed to be receiving something from the Lord, and instead you're just thinking about how you can, weaponize it or utilize it in the next conversation or debate you get in online. That's not healthy. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously great. Like if you're getting things from prayer that are actually really helpful in the defense of the faith, I'm not saying that's bad. It's not. It's good. But if you're doing it to the exclusion of what you are supposed to be hearing, like if you were present at the Sermon on the Mount and the whole time you're just like, oh, I know people who really need to hear all this stuff. Like, yeah, they do. That's true. But you need to hear it too. Like, you need to hear it first. And so we can do a form of that if you're particularly wired for apologetics. And I don't think it's unfair to say this is mostly, I'm totally blanking on her name. Something Bookworm. And
the Catholic Bookworm.
The Catholic Bookworm.
Yeah.
I guess that was the most obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Catholic Bookworm. She ran some numbers. She has several different apologists, including me, what the YouTube demographics breakdown was in terms of men and women, and it was pretty consistently across the board an 80-20 split. Like it didn't seem to matter a great deal how we approached apologetics. Different people approaching it in different ways. There's just a much more disproportionate attraction men have for just doing fact gathering in general. Like trivia tends to be dominated by men. Scrabble's a really fascinating one because casual Scrabble players are overwhelmingly women, but the super competitive, memorize the dictionary Scrabble players are almost exclusively male. The winner of the French Scrabble tournament a couple years back was an American who doesn't speak French, but he just memorized the French dictionary enough to win Scrabble.
Wow.
Like that kind of a certain cast of mind, like the same skill set that makes somebody naturally good at that and want to do that is, I think, the same skill set that makes you really good at remembering random Catholic trivia and being able to use that. When somebody says, oh, well, this pope did such and such, and you can just offhand be like, actually, no. Here's the background to that. That does lean more male. So I think it's fair to say this might be something that we struggle with more as men.
Yeah, and I definitely have seen it in, social circles as well. A lot of the men, so one of two things have usually happened in my experience. All the men get together and they start having this competition of who knows more about Aquinas or Augustine. And they're like, oh, well, I read the Summa. Oh, yeah, well, I know the seven. Like, it's like this weird competition between them. Or the other side of it is they're like, oh, there's a pretty girl over there. I'm going to impress her with all of my knowledge of Aquinas. And she's over here just like, that's cool. That's real. Yeah. That's cool.
I've never seen it work, but I've seen it tried many times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's not really the point of Aquinas or Thomas. It's not, the point is not to be able to impress your bros or to charm a lady. And I'm not sure it does either of those things. I mean, it kind of does the first one sometimes if you run in a weird enough group. But again, it's like, what is the purpose of doing this? Is it just to be proud? Is it just to have random facts? Like, if it wasn't this, would it just be sports stats or, whatever, gaming knowledge or something else?
Yeah. Would you say that this has something to do with an insecurity that maybe men have in a way, that they feel like they have to be able to prove that they're smart or that they know things? Would you say?
I think it certainly can be that, particularly with a certain kind of age demographic. But it also is, like, there is just a male fascination in collecting data. And it's good. It's God-given. I have it. I love it. But I also know that it has to have its own place or it'll just be completely obnoxious. It's great that you have things like Wikipedia. And Wikipedia exists largely because a bunch of men with that cast of mind spend enormous amounts of time updating obscure articles on things no one else cares about. And then you go looking for it one day and you're just like, wow, there's like 5,000 words written on this thing I'd never heard of in a field that I actually know kind of well. It's amazing somebody, took the time to do that. So all of that can be good. It can be for the glory of God. It can become what Thomas calls a vice of curiosity, where it's just knowledge, for the sake of pride or for the sake of some other, non-good reason. Those things can happen. And then it's no longer a good thing. But some of that is just a difference in how I think men and women operate. Like from infancy, boy babies and girl babies interact with the world in different ways. And so some of the data suggests, girl babies tend to hold eye contact longer with people. Boy babies tend to spend more time looking at mechanical things like mobiles in their room and trying to kind of figure out how the inanimate world works. And those are both gifts from God. Like, it is good that we have both. And the danger is when somebody thinks like one of those ways of doing things is like the right way, and can, particularly like in the case of men with apologetics or any of this stuff, it can become a sort of fact collection, data gathering, non-relational way of viewing the world that can be very counterproductive.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's the most beautiful thing, is that men and women are so different.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like we do have to acknowledge that and take into account that, like, we're not going to see things the same way, and men are very object focused. And so it's important to keep all of that in mind as, you're dating or you're trying to, interact with the opposite sex. But what would you say to the guys who might be doing a little bit too much of that, and how to be aware of it even? Because I feel like sometimes you're not even aware of it.
Yeah, I guess I would say this. If you find yourself in a situation where you are exclusively surrounded by members of the same sex, and that's not imposed by some external restraint, like you're in seminary or jail or on a ship somewhere, something like, obviously there are exceptions. But otherwise, like if the way you are living in the world, you've surrounded yourself either digitally or in real life with just members of the same sex, that is probably a red flag that you are not living in a way to embrace the authentic good of the other. I have benefited tremendously in my own life from the writings of St. John Paul II on givenness. He has a meditation on givenness. And one of the things he talks about is how men and women are given to one another. And that there's a way we can recognize the beauty of each other in a way that makes a difference. Like, in other words, it's sexed without being sexual or without being inherently sexual. Like, you can obviously do this in marriage, a husband praising his wife's beauty and vice versa. But there's a way in which even celibates are called to this, and really everyone is called to this. Parents do this with their children. Like when I tell my daughter she's beautiful, it means something different than when my wife does it. And being able to appreciate the gift of the opposite sex and recognizing this as a gift from God, both in the general and maybe in the particular ways, like these friends in my life, this person I'm in love with, whatever it is, being able to recognize the ways that they're different from you, not as a threat, but as sort of an opportunity to understand the world through new lenses, is going to be enriching. I mean, almost inherently so. Because if you've only seen the world through one set of eyes, whether it's your own or those who are very similar to you personality-wise, you've only looked at a problem from one angle. And the world is too rich for that. And so I'm married to a therapist. And it's not an exaggeration to say that is not my natural disposition at all. Like, I can be a little emotionally oblivious sometimes. My wife is very emotionally in tuned. And there are ways that we balance each other out, and we can approach the same question where I will, I'll have an email I'm frustrated by. And I'll show it to my wife and say, here's what I'm thinking about saying. And she'll be, don't send that at all. And she'll explain what's going on behind the words. Like, oh, this person was offended you did this. Or this person's feeling like you're not being sensitive to that. And I'm just clueless about it. And she diffuses these situations very effectively by being like, you should ask this instead, or you should, and it's mutually beneficial. And there are other times where I'll help her be a little more direct in a situation, say, where that would be the appropriate thing of oh, no, just ask them for this. They won't be offended. They'll be fine. And so we can kind of balance each other out in a way where neither of us would be, I don't want to praise myself here, but neither of us would be as enriched just by ourselves or just with people who were the exact same as us. So I don't know, there's kind of a viva la difference. And so if you've got yourself in a situation where you're having no luck with the opposite sex and you're surrounded by people who think and act the same way you do, that should be cause for some self-reflection of what behaviors am I exuding and manifesting that people are not finding attractive, and am I acting in a way where I seem closed off to encountering the opposite sex? And then the last thing I say on this, particularly for men, there is this strong sense of wanting to perform, to impress women. And frequently when I talk to women, they're more interested in men listening. And the performative aspect can actually get in the way of the listening, where you're just spouting off, oh, well, actually, let me tell you the history of Lord of the Rings. And she's just eyes glazed over, slinking away slowly. And it's coming out of a place of this is something I'm passionate about. I want to show you something I care about. And I want you to be impressed by how much I know and all of that. And it's you would get so much further if she just saw that you're a gentle, compassionate, thoughtful person who wants to know about her. Because no one just wants to be a fact-gathering project. Yeah. Or just the unwilling audience of some nerd's exposition of facts.
So true.
And so I don't know. I think it's something that it's easy when you see it in somebody else to be I see how this is going sideways. It's harder to know, how do you help them see, exactly what's going on there? But hopefully, maybe if you've seen any of your friends routinely strike out in conversation and just say okay, what are they doing wrong? Because you can't just blame the opposite sex when it's happening over and over and over again. There's plenty of men, and I'll speak to the men here. I would venture, if you're unlucky with women, that there are plenty of men who are no better looking than you, no smarter than you, no richer than you, who have had success in meeting someone of the opposite sex. And I don't want to blame you. I don't even know you. But maybe look and see, well, are there excuses I'm allowing myself to settle for of just oh, well, it's just because of X, Y, Z? Or are there things that you could actually work on to make yourself more of a gift to the opposite sex? And are there ways that you can better appreciate the gift of the other person and let them know that you receive them as a gift? Because people want to feel like a gift. People want to feel loved and valued. And that's true of both men and women. So I don't know. I don't know if that helps or not.
No,
but that
would
be my initial kind of inclination.
Yeah, no, I think that's very helpful, especially for a lot of the listeners who are just feeling stuck. It's literally just you know what, if you keep striking out, maybe it's time to try a different a different type of pattern of batting or something.
And you know what? Like, I should probably add to this. Like, the dating market is bad all over now. Like, it is a rough situation for men and women. So I am sympathetic because I know both men and women who are great, like great people who really have struggled in this in ways where it's very hard to know like what they're doing wrong at all. Like, there are other cases where you kind of know, but there are some cases where it's like, I'm a little mystified. So I don't want to come off as just saying like, if you're single, it's your fault, because that's not true. But particularly in a tough dating environment, in a world in which everyone faces too many options and can have analysis paralysis or can start making really shallow decisions and all of that, in a world in which a lot of the people that are listening right now, or a lot of the people they're wanting to date, may be seriously harmed by dysfunction from divorce and emotional damage from other relationships and pornography and everything, all of the different ways that there's so much baggage right now and so much woundedness. It's a hard time to be discerning. It's a hard time to be dating, but this is all the more reason to really come to realize your own gifts and limitations and to be able to work as you can on the one and sort of expand the other and really appreciate the gift of the other people that God has placed in your life.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I think that that's going to be very helpful for so many people. And, even myself included, because I'm married, but I am helping other people who are in that situation. So that just helps so much. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
And our other topic has nothing to do with this. So I can't even pivot. I can't be like, here, but we're going to pivot now. And I want to get your thoughts on the people.
Oh, I've got a pivot for you.
Oh, yeah. What?
Speaking of finding things in others that are worth valuing.
That's the perfect pivot. Oh my gosh. Leave it to Joe. He knows how to do this. Okay. Speaking of that, people will say that Catholics stole things from pagans and therefore the Catholic Church is also pagan.
Yeah, let's unpack that in 3 ways.